The opening scene features a full-fledged lawyer, Yi Sung, who is trying to defend her father for a crime he did not commit. It turns out that her father was falsely accused of sexual assaults and murder of a little girl. In the court trial, Yi Sung claims that the prosecutor is making false claims since she is a witness to the whole incident. Later, while leaving the prison court after a successful trial, Yi Sung notices a balloon entangled in barbed wire. That shit would definitely have popped, but it's a nice poetic image, I guess. The scene then cuts back to the year 1997, where a 6-year-old Yi Sung and her father Young-gu are staring at a store window. They are admiring a Sailor Moon backpack. Young-gu promises to buy his daughter the backpack as soon as he gets paid from work. Just then, they notice a police commissioner purchasing that bag for his daughter. Young-gu rushes in to grab the backpack, but he is assaulted by the officer and kicked out of the store, and Tuxedo Mask is not there to save them. After the incident, the two return home without the bag, slightly battered, but in high spirits. Yi Sung, being a kind and smart child, understands the situation and doesn't feel sad, despite not getting the bag. Even though she is very young, she takes care of her father, who has a developmental disability, and may well have wanted that backpack for himself. The following day, Young-gu gets paid at work. While counting the money, he is approached by the earlier police commissioner's daughter, who offers to guide him to another store that sells the same backpack. But in an unfortunate accident, the little girl slips on the market's icy pavement, and a brick drops on her head, resulting in her death. In a desperate that's crazy, man. In a desperate bid to revive the little girl, Young-gu proceeds to perform CPR. However, a female bystander misunderstands him and reports him for assaulting and killing the girl. Following this, Young-gu is apprehended and taken to the police station. Due to his mental illness, he doesn't understand that he is arrested, so he tries to leave, citing that his daughter is alone at home. However, this only results in him getting beaten by the police officers, who keep him in custody until the next day. In the morning, the police make false comments on his actions, alleging that he sought revenge on the commissioner by assaulting his daughter. To add to his predicament, he is forced to make a false reenactment in exchange for meeting his daughter. In the meantime, Yi Sung, who gets worried for her father, sets off to find him. Not long after, she notices a crowd surrounding the crime scene and soon discovers her father in handcuffs. Scared, the little girl rushes to him, but she is quickly held back by the officers.
That's my uncle! Peter!
In the aftermath of this event, Young-gu is sent to prison where the warden beats him up for committing such a crime. He is then detained in cell number 7, along with 5 other inmates. They also beat him up for his falsely accused crime. Despite all this, the innocent Young-gu keeps on thinking about his daughter. During working hours, the inmates are tasked to make soccer balls. One of Young-gu's cellmates, named Yang Ho, who is considered the leader, uses these balls as an alibi to smuggle things. By distributing these smuggled products, the leader and his gang establish their turf within the prison. However, this has also earned them several enemies. One day, the rival gang leader tries to stab Yang Ho from behind, but Young-gu, who notices this, intervenes just in time and saves him. His actions impress the leader deeply. Later on, Yang Ho offers to help him in any way he can to return the favor. In response, Young-gu expresses his wish to see his daughter, Yi Sung. As a result, the little girl is brought into the prison along with a team of choir who are there for a performance. After waiting for the right time, the girl is abducted and smuggled inside cell number 7 to meet her father. This is probably not how Young-gu wanted things to happen. As soon as Young-gu meets her, he embraces her emotionally. He apologizes for leaving her and explains that he is being detained. However, their reunion is cut short because the church event is disbanded. The fellow inmates then hurriedly try to smuggle her out, but they're too late. The church's bus is already departed. As a result, they have no choice but to keep the girl inside the cell with them. One of the cellmates freaks out, thinking about the consequences if they get caught, so he opts to alert the guards. However, he can't do so when he looks at Yi Sung's crying face. Upon living with them, the fellow cellmates realize that Young-gu can't be an assailant since he loves his daughter so much. A couple of days pass by, and the cell room now looks more like Yi Sung's playground rather than a prison cell. Since they don't know Yi Sung is in there, this this will definitely look bad to the guards for Yong-gu. The inmates eventually get along with her and warm up to her due to her brightness. One night, the prison warden goes through the pictures from the choir event and discovers that one of the performing girls is missing. Realizing that the girl has been smuggled inside, he orders an immediate prison-wide inspection. Shortly after, Yi-sung is found and is immediately sent to the orphanage, while Yong-gu is confined in a solitary cell. The same night, a fire breaks out from an attempted arson as a prisoner protests against allowing a little girl inside the prison. Amidst the chaos, all prisoners are sent to the courtyard, while the warden breaks into the cell to apprehend the protester. However, the fire gets bigger, and both warden and the protester are trapped inside. Upon witnessing this, Yong-gu courageously jumps into the flames to rescue them, disregarding potential consequences. The scene then cuts to the hospital, where the warden wakes up to learn that he is saved by Yong-gu. This makes him realize that the man's crime report was fabricated, and that he can't commit such a heinous act. On the other hand, Yi-sung resumes her school. After classes, her teacher asks about why she was absent, but Yi-sung simply desires to meet her father. Following this, she takes her teacher to prison, leaving her in shock. Once there, the father and daughter are overjoyed to see each other again. Seeing the love between the two of them, the teacher doesn't bother them and participates in their conversation instead. However, their happiness is short-lived as the visit time runs out, causing them to be separated. The warden sees Yong-gu's love towards his daughter for the first time and is more convinced about his suspicion. This only makes him recall his memories about his only son, who is killed by an inmate. After the separation, Yi-sung grieves so much that she doesn't eat anything and ultimately ends up in the hospital. The prison warden visits her to check her well-being. During this, the little girl requests him to arrest her and take her to her father's cell. Touched by this, the warden allows her to visit her father every day after school. In addition, he reviews Yong-gu's crime files and discovers that his sworn statement is falsified. After seeing the injustice that Yong-gu is facing, the warden vows to prove his innocence. He then goes to the commissioner and requests for re-investigation of Yong-gu's case, unbeknownst to the fact that it was the commissioner who set him up. Meanwhile, within the prison, the inmates from cell number 7 enjoy their time with Yi-sung. The little girl teaches the leader how to read and write, his weakness that nobody knew about, but now they do, and they laugh at him. One day, Yi-sung borrows a cell phone from one of her classmates and brings it inside the prison. She hands it to an inmate, allowing him to call his wife and his newborn baby girl.
That's great, Yi-sung. You break some laws for me too, little girl. Let's go. Bring me a shank, Yi-sung. Yeah.
As the days pass by, they all form a special bond with Yi-sung and start living like a family where more than 50 of her uncles have killed people. Apart from all this, they also learn that Yong-gu's final trial date is approaching. In response, the inmates pledge to train him for success in the trial, because they've all clearly experienced that, so that he can return to his happy life with his daughter. For this, they first ask Yong-gu to explain the incident in detail. They also go through several scenarios in order to get the picture of the incident. After a few days, they finally conclude that the commissioner's girl actually slipped on a frozen puddle. While falling, the girl grabbed a plastic wrap that caused a brick to fall on her head and kill her. I'm even starting to doubt this story. The inmates also learn that Yong-gu was blackmailed into signing a falsified report, due to which he ended up here. Having unraveled the truth, Yong-gu is trained on how to answer potential prosecution questions. Even though it's hard due to his mental illness, they are still confident that he will win because he has been mistreated. The inmates make a note about all the possible questions along with their answers, which Yong-gu studies day and night. Additionally, the cellmates organize a petition from fellow prisoners to attend Yong-gu's trial in a show of support. Amidst the preparations, a public lawyer comes to meet Yong-gu. The lawyer says that he must plead guilty to save his daughter, asserting that the commissioner will hurt Yi-sung if he wins the trial. The lawyer also abandons the prisoner's petition, saying it won't help because they've all killed people. In the next scene, the long-anticipated trial day arrives, and Yong-gu is brought to court for his final verdict. In the waiting room, the commissioner beats him in a fit of rage rage, threatening to kill his daughter if he doesn't confess. A while later, the trial begins, and Young-gu, who is very worried for his daughter, sacrifices himself by pleading guilty to the accusations. The prison warden tries to convince the judge that Young-gu is mentally intimidated, but he is ultimately sentenced to death. The execution date is scheduled for December 23rd, which happens to fall on Yi-sung's birthday. Back in the prison, the inmates feel sorry for Young-gu, so they decide to take matters into their own hands. They devise a plan to build a hot air balloon to facilitate his escape. They dedicate their days and nights to this project, driven by the motivation to free an innocent man from the clutches of injustice, and to do it like Willy fucking Wonka too. They also request all of the other prisoners and Yi-sung's teacher's help in order to commence the plan. A few days later, the prison organizes a program in which Yi-sung, along with some other children, perform a choir. At the end of the performance, Yi-sung takes her father's hand and invites him to the yard, with other prisoners joining to create the illusion that the event is ongoing. Seizing the moment, the inmates send Young-gu and Yi-sung on the balloon and release the rope. They're dead for sure. As they fly away, the guards become aware of their escape attempt, but the prisoners stop them from chasing the balloon. What if they snipe it? However, the balloon's rope is caught by barbed wire, causing their plan to fail. Now, with nowhere to go, the father and the daughter use this moment to savor the setting sun together. On December 23rd, Young-gu and the cellmates celebrate Yi-sung's birthday before he is taken for execution. They surprise the little girl with a birthday cake and multiple gifts. Great, now she'll never be able to look at a cake again. Young-gu finally presents her with the Sailor Moon backpack, which they have been thinking of buying for a long time. Overjoyed with the present, the little girl thanks him for being her father. As the two embrace, the rest of the fellow inmates, being aware of Young-gu's fate, are unable to hold their tears back. Despite this, they don't utter a single word in front of the little girl. They simply pretend that her father is being transferred to another facility and tell her to stay strong. Shortly afterwards, the prison guards arrive to take Young-gu for execution. Before leaving, he thanks all of his fellow cellmates for their care and support. The inmates are clearly saddened, but they are helpless. As Young-gu walks past the hall with his daughter, the other prisoners also share in the sorrow. When the moment of separation comes, Young-gu tries hard to hold his tears back. He hugs Yi-sung for the last time before heading to his execution. While walking away, he hears his daughter's voice and rushes back to embrace her. He pleads for help because he doesn't want to be separated from his daughter. However, it's too late now, and even the warden seems powerless. Poor Young-gu is eventually executed for a crime he did not commit. 16 years later, Yi-sung, who is now a lawyer, appeals for her father's case, who is still considered to be a criminal. With the prison warden and the Room 7 inmates' support, she is finally able to prove his innocence. The judge exonerates Young-gu by overturning the previous verdict, and also orders a reinvestigation into the little girl's death, bringing immense joy to the former inmates, the warden, and a tearful Yi-sung. The scene then returns back to the beginning of the film, where Yi-sung has a vision of Young-gu and her younger self on the hot air balloon, waving goodbye. The movie ends as she tearfully bids goodbye to her father as the balloon flies away.
Shit.